Hi, thanks for tuning into my channel. This is Rev May, or some people call me Randy. That would be fine. I wanted to take today and thank everyone. Yesterday, April 30th, was my 2-year anniversary of being on YouTube. And so I wanted to thank everybody that has watched my videos over the last 2 years, for the people that have sent me private email and said nice things to me, and for some people have commented on some of them, and for those that click like and help me share my videos, I really appreciate it. I prayed really hard for a long time, and when you're a retired pastor, a lot of churches don't want a retired pastor there because they feel like it's going to cause a conflict. But I've got a pastor who doesn't mind me being there. Not only that, if he has to leave town or something comes up, he calls me and has me fill in, and I appreciate that. When I first started preaching up in St. Louis, back 50 years ago, that was my specialty, and that's what I did a lot. Within a 50-mile radius of the Arch in St. Louis back then, there was 3.1 million people. And my dad had been pastor there for years and years. A lot of people know him. He was on the radio for 13 years back in the 50s and 60s. And so, and then he was one of the first pastors in that area to have a program live on Sunday morning from the church. They did a 30-minute live feed for the radio. So a lot of people knew him. So when I had started preaching, I started having preachers call me and say, "Randy, I'm having to leave town. We had a death in the family. I know it's Saturday. Could you preach my service tomorrow and take care of my church?" I said, "Sure." So I'd go do it. Well, then another guy called me and said, "Hey, I go deer hunting every year the third week of November," or whatever it was. I don't remember what week it was, but sometime in November. He said, "Could you take care of my church for 2 Sundays so I can go deer hunting?" And that's right. Another guy called me. I go elk hunting once a year. I was talking to him. He's hunting deer. He goes, "I'm going to Colorado. Could you take care of my church?" And then a guy from out in the county in Bridgeton, I think it was, somewhere out there in North County, he called me and said, "Look, I'm going on a missionary trip to Honduras, and I'm a licensed plumber, and I'm going to be teaching and preaching, and I'm going to try to put plumbing in 3 or 4 churches while I'm down there. Could you take care of my church for me?" So I got calls all the time. I was booked almost every weekend preaching somewhere, because people found out, hey, I can get him on short notice. He'll fill in. He'll take care of my church, treat it like his own, and then he leaves and goes back to what he's doing, and they knew I wouldn't give him a problem. And so it kept me very busy. I liked that because I was able to preach to so many different people and so many wide varieties. I preached in some churches that only had 15 or 20 people. Preached in a lot of churches that had 50 to 75 was most. But I preached in quite a few churches that had 175, 250. I had one that used me numerous times, and they ran over 400. And then I preached in a church one time for pastor appreciation. They called me out of the blue. One of the guys I went to Bible school with, he was an evangelist, and his sister was the choir director at a Baptist church in St. Louis, and it was a huge one. And they called me and wanted me to preach Sunday for the pastor appreciation. And so I went and preached that, and there was, 600 or 800 people there at the church. Had a real good time there. And so over the years, God's been good to me. But when I kind of retired from the ministry, meaning not pastoring no more, and I'm in a rural area, I still get calls. Matter of fact, 3 churches in this area in the last 10 years have called me to be an interim pastor for 2 to 3 months till they could get a pastor in, because they knew I'm not interested in pastoring no more. The Lord has done with me on that. I don't feel like I'm ever going to do that again, nor do I have a desire. So I filled in for them, and I've done short notices. I've really expanded my things. I preached at Baptist church, filled in at the Presbyterian church, live on the radio, then another service right after that, the Salvation Army. It goes on. I've preached all sorts of faiths all over the place. They call me on short notice, and that's what I've done. And I enjoy helping people out. I enjoy sharing the gospel. And so I do what I can. But I want to thank everybody. When I retired and was just playing the drums and singing, and I made 3 of my own records, and I played on 2 others. They paid me to play on them for them. I played in theaters, parks, halls, high school band, rock band, in the auditorium on Fridays before the football games. I played. I had churches call me. I had ministers call me and say, "Look, I'll pay you so much a night. I'm pitching a tent, going to be there a month. Could you drive over and play the drums for me?" So I did that numerous times. I've had a lot of good experience things that that have been good. Have I had some bad ones? Sure, but they're very few and far between. And but and if you want to see one of my experiences somewhere on here, there's one about a trip I made to Omaha to preach a revival, and it involves a hooker, the police, gamblers. It's quite a video. I'll try to put the thumbnail in there in the box, but if I forget, you want to watch it, you can. That's some of the experiences I faced when I went out and preached revivals for people. And so anyway, but I thank God for everything He's doing. And I was kind of getting, what am I going to do? Just a new phase of my life, And then I started this, YouTube just kept coming up. And there's 2 young ladies in their late 20s down in North Carolina called the Presley Sisters. And I've been watching them for quite a while and commented a few times on theirs. So I sent them a private email, and they kind of told me how you get on here and what you do. And then I asked them, how do you post a video? Anyway, they helped me several times, and I probably would have never got on here if it wasn't for the Presley girls. Katie and Corey have been really good to me and gave me advice and watched some of my videos, and they've even announced mine on their videos 2 or 3 times. One night they announced it just real quickly that I had one and that he's a good preacher and you ought to. And I had 29 people subscribe to my channel in less than an hour. It really helped me out. So, anyways, I've got a long way to go, and I don't know if I'll ever get there. But I've been enjoying what I'm doing. It gives me a chance to share the gospel, and who sees it, who doesn't. And I'm never going to be monetized. I'm never going to have a huge channel, and I know that. There's a lot of people on there that get more views in 30 minutes than I'm going to get in a year because they are big time. Some of them's been under 10, 12, 13 years, and young people, and I'm all good for that. But a lot of times in the church, let me say this real quick. I'll try to wind this down. All right, let me get it. A lot of times in the church, they tend to forget about older people. They want to push them out. And I know this because I've talked to people. I was on the praise team. They tell me, I've been on the praise team for 28 years singing, and they said, why don't you step down, let somebody younger step in and all that. And I understand. There's different circumstances at different churches, and different pastors approach things differently. We're all individuals, and I understand that. But I've been fortunate. I have a church home where everybody calls me Pastor May, even though I'm retired. Sort of like if you're a chief master sergeant and you're retired, a lot of people still call you chief. A lot of people still call guys captain, and they were a captain in the military and they've been retired. So when people call you a Pastor May, it's them giving you honor is the way I look at it, and I really appreciate that. And I've got to teach, I've got to preach, I've got to sing a couple of times, I've played the drums a few times. I really miss playing the drums. They've been a big part of my life. I played them for 60 years, and I just really like to play more often. But the Lord knows my heart, and if things work that way, fine. If they don't, then I guess I'll have to accept it. But I'm telling you, don't ever give up on God. If you're getting older, if you feel like someday I may not be worth anything, don't feel that way. You can do something for the Lord. Look at me. Start a YouTube website, a YouTube page, retired and older. All right. And then I started another page on Rumble, and I've got one there, and then I have a Facebook page. So I've got all three of them going, and I have to work them all quite a bit. It keeps me pretty busy, but I like it. It keeps me studying the Bible. It keeps me praying. And then I do get a few people that write me, and I respond to them, or they'll make a comment, and I'll comment back to them because I appreciate it. But God's been good to me, and I wanted to thank everyone because that was a big deal to me. When I went on, I didn't know if I'd be on 90 days or 6 months. I didn't know what out the future held, but I knew I wanted to do something for the Lord, and I thought today I was going over it, and I think both the pages together have around 6,000 views, which is small potatoes in the YouTube Rumble business. But if I would have sat at home and not done anything on any page or tried to preach or teach or do anything, I would have reached zero. Nobody. But I've had 6,000 views. I've had a couple of dozen people that's requested prayer and was having problems. I had some other people that just wanted to share with me something that was on their heart that they're going through and all that. I've had people request prayer. And so I would be reaching nobody if I wasn't doing this. I didn't get on here to make a ton of money. I didn't get on here to be famous. You know, in my life, I've never had a desire. I guess I'm an idiot. I've never had a desire to be famous or rich. I've never had that desire. Paul said to be content in all things. I'm content with what I have. And I'm content. I have a lovely wife. I have 3 children. I've got 16 grandchildren. And 6 of them are great-grandchildren, 10 of them are grandchildren, and God's been good to me. And so I'm very thankful, and I want to give all the praise and glory to God, but at least I'm doing something to try to reach someone instead of doing nothing. And it feels good to do something. So I hope that you'll take this as a thank you from me to you. If you take time to watch a video, there's 68 or 69,000 YouTube channels. So if you take time to watch mine, believe me, I really appreciate it. You got a lot of options, about 69,000 of them, more than I do. And so I appreciated it when you watch, or if you click like or make a comment. You know, you don't have to, but when you do, I appreciate that. And I think that God, I prayed about it. And I told the Lord when I started, so I'm going to stay 2 years, push as hard as I can and do what I can. And then I'll sit down and I'll evaluate it, and I'll pray and talk to you and see if I should go on or if enough's enough or whatever. And I've prayed and I've sought the Lord, and I feel like it's just keep going. So I'm going to keep going. And who watches, and it's going to go the way the Lord would lead it, but at least I'm doing something, and I appreciate that. Plus, I'm still having my home church. Like I said, I fill in for the pastor when he's gone. He asked me, and I've played the drums several times when they needed a drummer, and I've sang, and everybody treats me really good and with respect. So I appreciate that too. God's been good to me. I got nothing to complain about. All right, everybody has health issues at one time or another in their life. Everybody has aches and pains when they get older. Life is life, but God's been good to me so far. And I'm not going to complain. We serve a good God. And I thank God for what he has done for me. And one thing I'll tell you this, and then I'm going to close. Don't try to be somebody other than yourself. All right? There's people on YouTube that you want to try. Some people want to try to emulate them, but that's not me. I'm just an ordinary preacher. I live out in a rural area. And I've lived in the big city, and I've been on the radio, 3 different radio stations over in my lifetime while I was being a minister. I've played the drums, I've sang, I've made 3 records, played on 2 more. I'm not bragging on myself, I'm just saying I've done a lot of things that I wanted to do, and I did them. And so I'm good with that, all right? So, and I knew I would never be famous, nor would I be rich. I have no desire to do that. I want to enjoy my grandchildren, my children, my great-grandchildren, and I want to serve God, love God, go to church, and help out wherever I can and however I can to help out because you have a lot of years of experience and you like to offer but I never give unsolicited advice. That's one thing my dad and my mom taught me when I first started out. My dad didn't know I was going to preach because I wasn't called to preach when my dad died. It was probably 3 or 4 years after my dad passed. But he told me, he says, "Son, I don't know if you'll ever preach or not. I don't know if you ever get in the ministry in some fashion, maybe not a pastor, maybe something else, an elder, board member, whatever." But he said, if you do, don't ever give unsolicited advice. People don't appreciate that, and you can hurt people's feelings. If someone comes to you and asks you for advice, give it to them, but don't offer unsolicited advice. So I've followed that most of my life. I've had many ministers tell me something or share something with me, and they'll say, I just want to bounce it off of you. And I'll say to them, do you want me to give you my opinion, or you just want to, am I going to be a sounding board? It don't matter to me, whatever you want to do. Well, I'd like you to give me your opinion. Okay, well, then I'll give them my opinion. If they say, no, I just want to talk to someone, I say, okay, then I let them talk. I don't offer unsolicited advice because I feel like that if people, the Bible teaches us to respect the elders, and the older women are supposed to teach the younger women, the older men are supposed to teach the younger men. But a lot of times people forget that, and they think because they're older, they ought to step aside and all that. But that's not what God teaches. You get a lot of wisdom from older people if you'll shut your mouth long enough to listen to what they're saying. So thank you so much to everyone that watches the channel, has watched it, or going to continue to. If you click like, that helps me. If you share it with a friend, that helps me. Maybe the channel will grow more in the next year than it has so far. I think I have 159 subscribers. And, you need 1,000 before they'll even look at you about anything. So I don't know if I ever get up that high. And if I don't, it's not a problem with me. I don't have a problem with that. I'm not into numbers. I do know a minister that's on there. He's big time in the numbers. And he's even wrote things on other preachers' comments to be controversial so that they'll make a video about him so he can pick up more subscribers. Let me tell you, I'm not going to do that. I'm not the author. God is not the author of confusion, and the Lord's not leaving me here on this earth for me to get on my YouTube channel and cause confusion for other people. Not going to do that. Nor am I going to critique all the ministers and every word they say verbatim. There's dozens and dozens of people on YouTube that does that. It's covered real well. I have no desire to do that. That's not up my alley. My lane is doing what I'm doing, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. And if it draws people into the Lord, wonderful. If I don't give very many people, then that's fine too. But I am who I am, and I'm going to do what the Lord wants me to do, and I'm not going to pattern after anyone else, nor am I going to try to get viewers by sensationalizing things and picking these famous preachers out and showing their videos and stopping it and critique them. If you do that, that's wonderful. If it works for you and you feel like that's what God wants you to do, more power to you. Do it. I'm not. That's not me. I don't want to be like nobody else. I'm me. God made me an individual, and I'm not, but I don't, I'm not looking to make money. I'm not looking for that. So it doesn't matter to me if people do that, they do it, but I don't. I'm just going to preach, teach, and give what God gives me and try to help people. And then after I'm gone, let me say this, after I'm gone, maybe my grandchildren or great-grandchildren or my children or my nieces and nephews, God, I quit counting after, I was 65 the last time I counted, and that was 4 or 5 years ago, of nieces, nephews, great-nieces and nephews, and great-great-nieces and nephews. I got them all over the place. Maybe someday they'll look for answers and maybe they're not serving the Lord, or maybe they don't know the Bible real good, but they think, oh, Uncle Randy had a channel on there, and they go on there and there's a video about marriage, and there's a video about prayer, there's another video about raising your children, what the Bible has to say about it, every kind of category. I'm depressed, got a video on there about it. They're narcissists, there's going to be a video on there about it. They can get help or see, or if they say, what what did my great grandfather, what kind of guy was he? I know he was a preacher. What kind of, they can say, well, he's got whatever, 400 videos or 500. Go on YouTube or Rumble and he's there. You can find out what he was all about. I'm exactly what I am at home as I am on here. So I want to tell you, I love you. I appreciate the Presley sisters because they really have been good to me by mentioning me on their channels, and by giving me advice and interacting with me on email. And I really appreciate them because they're the only ones on YouTube that has worked and helped me out. I was kind of lost for a while. If it wasn't for them, I don't know if I'd have got to this point. So I appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone that watches the channel. Thank you so much. And I'm going to do what I always do. Thank you for your time, this time. Till next time, Old Red May signing off. And thank you for my 2-year anniversary and for watching my channel.